So here's some similar questions for your test, which is next Wednesday. Now this took me another couple of minutes to do. So these are similar. They're not the same, similar, but the methodology is the same. Well, anyways, I'll just do this. So what do I notice about 108 and 256? It may not be obvious to you, but I know that they're both divisible by 4. The reason I like 4 is because of what's created. You know, when you think about n cubes, you need to be thinking about things you can take cubic roots of. And both of these terms contain a 4. It's actually their greatest common factor. If I pull the 4, I'm left with 27n cubed plus 64. And I wish that was more obvious to you, but that is one of the ways to factor this thing. Now, I'm also familiar with the a cubed plus b cubed pattern, which you're supposed to as well. It factors as a plus b times a squared minus ab plus b squared. I hate it for those of y'all that can't memorize. So let me write down that partial factorization and then talk about it. It turns out that if you take a 3n and you cube it, you get that guy. All right, I know you're probably watching this muted or whatever. And it turns out that if you cube a 4, you get that guy. All right, so using this pattern up here and bringing this 4 back down, everywhere I see an a, I'm a 3n, and everywhere I see a b, I'm a 4. If I take a 3n and I square it, I get 9n squared. Take away the product, 3 times 4 is 12, and then 4 squared is 16. I've watched kids not try to do these before until the very end, like the day before. And then they were like, Milbrath, I want to learn this. So they actually sat down and learned it. And they were like, it was that easy? It's always been that easy. It has always been easy. It's you that make it hard. Here's a similar problem. And crap, I didn't write down what the x values were supposed to be. So known factors are 2x minus 1 and x minus 2. Those are known factors. So the similar problem is actually more difficult than the given problem. So these are known factors, and I want to use synthetic division. 2x minus 1 is 0. Two-step it, x is a half. All right? X minus 2 is 0. The x value is 2. Those are the numbers I'm going to use for synthetic division. So here comes my upside down vinculum. If you can't tell, I'm completely congested here. So even working sick for y'all. Coefficients load up the top. You can divide out either one first. I'm going to go with a whole number, 2, then I drop, and I multiply, and I add. And that's what I'm doing. I'm doing that whole DMA acronym. Drop, multiply, and add. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. 34 minus 2 is 32. 2 times 32 is 64. Negative 80 and 64 sums to be negative 16. Twice a negative 16 is negative 32. And there's a 0 here. Repeat the process, but this time with the 1/2. And I drop the 2, and 2 times a half is 1. Negative 1 and 1 makes 0. Half of 0 is 0. 32 and 0 is 32. Half of 32 is 16. There you go. I kind of ran out of room here, but remainder constant x squared. So this is 2x squared plus 32, and it's where the remaining zeros are. So I set it equal to 0. That's why I set it equal to 0. What I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by the 2. I'm going to subtract 32. 2x squared is negative 32. What I did there was I subtracted 32. Now I'm going to divide that 2 out. X squared is negative 16. I divided by 2. Now I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Square root both sides. And now I'm going to simplify. Square root of negative 16 is plus or minus 4i. And I hope you get that by now. Last step was simplification. And those are your last 2 answers. There you go. Number 4, the similar result here is xi times x, sorry, the similar question I'm going to do is xi times x minus 3i times x minus 5i. And I'm just going to FOIL, double distributive property. I'm going to leave this xi floating around. X times x is x squared minus 5ix, or 5xi, however you want to do it, minus 3ix, and then plus 15i squared. No. And off to the side, up in this noggin of mine, I'm thinking about 15i squared being a negative 15. That's what I'm thinking about. Cross out, change sign. Let's clean this set of parentheses up. We have xi times x squared looks like minus 8ix minus 15. And we're going to distribute our xi into place now. All right, so xi times x squared is oddly enough x cubed I. Here we have an x times an x, and we have an I times an I. Minus 8i squared x squared. And then minus 15xi. Pretty ambitious little problem, isn't it? I've seen this on the end of course test. I've seen it. It's what the state expects you to stand a chance of doing. So I'm focusing my attention at negative I squared x squared. Specifically, I'm paying attention to this. That's positive 8 all day long. That piece becomes 8x squared. And when you talk about writing things with imaginary components, we do real followed by imaginary. It's real plus imaginary. And this is real. It's the only real thing up there. The real piece is 8x squared. And then we say plus x cubed I, and then minus 15xi. That would be the correct standard form for that problem, although it's not a deal breaker. This would be multiple choice. I guarantee you that'll be multiple choice. Number 5, simplify the cubic root of 128y to the 10th to the 18th. Here's my similar example. Simplify the cubic root of 250y to the 12th to z to the 13th. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the number first. The cubic root of 250, it's even. Everything even is divisible by 2. That's the cubic root of 125 times a 2, which is 5 cubic roots of 2, because the cubic root of 125 is 5, because somebody asked you to memorize it. All right, so we got a 5. I'm going to leave a lot of space. I'm going to leave space for y's and z's. Cubic roots. 3 enters 12 4 times. Remember that 12 over 3 is 4. Y to the 4th. How many times 3 enter 13? 13 over 3 is going to be 4 with a remainder of 1. So z to the 4th. Now what's stuck inside is this 2 and a z to the first power. Now I don't know if you remember me going over this, but I did. 5 cubed is 125 times 2 is 250. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 3 is 12, add 1 back, 13. That's how you cheat on a multiple choice test. Hope you paid attention to that. And that's all I got time to do because it's after hours and I need to go get some Sudafed. So there you go. 5 similar questions.